Justice League Dark, an outlet into the world of all things magic, combining some of our favorite magic users. Now, on the surface, I think a team molded like this is a really great idea. It gets people interested and talking, but when looking at some of the unpopular opinions on the community post, there are two things I noticed quite a lot of. One, people don't really like the name of the team Justice League Dark, and two, it's particular Justice League characters, the main league, who preferably do not want to see them in a Justice League Dark as they have no place being there. Now, I'm sure we'll get into some of those points, but as per usual, let's get into some of your comments and see what you got. Devil XL. My unpopular opinion on Justice League Dark is that the team doesn't need Batman or Wonder Woman to be relevant. DC often inserts mainstream Justice League members to boost sales, but this undermines the core appeal of Justice League Dark. Its focus on supernatural and occult heroes who operate in the shadows. Characters like Zatanna, Swamp Thing, and Deadman have rich histories that deserve more exploration without needing a major JL figure as a crutch. The team should stand on its own without relying on traditional superheroes to legitimize it. Fantastic points as per usual. Based on the community post, there are a lot of people who feel the same way. The unpopular opinion is putting in Justice League members into a team like Dark where perhaps they don't belong. Obviously, you get Batman in the Justice League Dark from time to time because of his persona, his personality, his attitude, the grim world he already operates out of. And then Wonder Woman, who is there from time to time as well, being a warrior, being a little more ruthless than other ordinary characters, and also the fact that she does deal with magic, not just in her abilities, but within her own mythology as well. They thought it would make a great fit. I am okay with some bigger name heroes like Batman and Wonder Woman taking place in teams in which they don't necessarily belong to every now and then. I think that's fine. It goes beyond those characters. It can be done with Superman or Flash or whoever else you want. But yes, the fact that over the years there has been quite a keen focus on getting them in the Justice League Dark, I don't think that's very necessary. Showing up maybe once, twice, 3 times is different, but making them members of the team, nah. They have their own thing, the Justice League. What's better than that? I understand fans of this brand is definitely a priority, and we would be able to go into anything Justice League Dark-esque and be able to realize, oh yeah, we know these characters, we know what they do, we don't need those main 7. However, they also want to appeal to general audiences, whether it is movies of some sort or literature. Bringing in Batman and Wonder Woman, from time to time at the least, will bring those general audience people to a point of, oh, what are they doing in a team like this? Who is this team in general? What are their powers? Oh, magic? Oh, Batman's here? Let's check it out. I understand it to a certain degree, but I do agree with you. There does come a point where the Justice League Dark, and in fact any other league, team, or team in general, needs to legitimize themselves without relying on big name characters to help them do it. If they are so interesting and such great characters, the characters and their story needs to stand up for itself. Now let's look at 2 comments here, differing opinions. Your future self. The name is awful. There is no way they would call themselves that. Very unoriginal. Wasn't there a DC magic group name called Shadow Pact or something? Maybe I'm getting mixed up with something else, but that name is way better. The only reason they called themselves Justice League Dark is to try and sell more. And then we have Kikagna. The name is perfect. Justice League Dark as a name is a product of its time. Post 9/11 America and New 52 edginess. It refers to emotional darkness and maturity first and foremost, but also old-timey, dark, spooky motives with spirits, nighttime, and the undead. Beautiful in its simplicity. Here's how I'll put it. I don't mind the name. Do I think the name is perfect by any means? No. But do I think it serves its purpose? Absolutely. Do I also believe certain people would look at a name in Justice League Dark and think anything but magic users? For sure. There are many terms in which they could have used something different to describe magic or supernaturalness to the DC universe and called it Justice League, whatever word they come up with. I don't necessarily think Dark tells the full story of who the team is. You could have literally just called this team Shadow Pact. In all fairness, I don't even know if they need Justice League in the name. There are so many Justice League teams in the DC universe where sometimes Justice League does not fit what the team actually stands for, and I don't really know if this is a team that needs that term. However, I do see the other side to it with its simplicity. It's a name in which you can describe it to be many things. It is a group of characters that happen to be magic users. It's a group of characters who might have mindsets differently than your ordinary thought of justice, or it's a group of characters in which heroes have maybe gone anti-hero or anti-villain. It's simple in the way that it could mean many things, and you just happen to find out it's all about magic and the supernatural. So I'm on both sides here. Do I believe they should perhaps have a different name, maybe more suiting to magic users? I do. But do I hate the name Justice League Dark, and do I dislike that they're the ones who have coined it? No. Kyle Richard. As much as I love John Constantine, I would rather have Zatanna be the leader, face of the team, POV character of the team over him. She deserves it, as well as to be a founding member of the main league, as well as her to run the freaking world. But for real, it would be something different, as it's usually John at the head. Still want to see more of him though. I couldn't agree more. John is a great character to have in this team, even though sometimes I don't know if this character should be a team player in the first place. He feels much more to be a solo character. Zatanna should absolutely be the leader. She has leadership skills. I think she does play really well with other characters. She is that team player. As someone like myself who my main Justice League includes her as a founding member, she would have all she needs to bring all of that leader experience over to a Justice League Dark, to have to lead people like Constantine and Swamp Thing and whatever other magical misfit user comes along her way. In my canon idea, there's no doubt about it, she would probably leave the Justice League to then find the Justice League Dark, and I think it is a no-brainer that she would be the leader instead of John. Jordan. I guess my hot take is that they're not underrated, they're just rated. They're always on those top 5 obscure heroes lists, always have a movie in development, and are always featured or referenced in animation. To me, that shows there's a large appreciation for them, and once we see them enough, they'll quickly become overrated. I see what you mean. They're definitely a group that a lot of people in the fan base love to talk about. They do seem to be a team that every now and then sits on the surface, might not be skyrocketing anywhere, but it is still a team that causes conversation or does bring in a form of interest. You could be right, Justice League Dark is just a team that is waiting to blow up. It's waiting for its right time, and perhaps it will have its right time one day. I could see them having their Suicide Squad era. That is a team where at one point nobody could stop talking about them. Movies were made about them, games were made about them, animated movies were made about them, and then on top of all of that, they were heavily used in the comic book world almost non-stop. Today, I would argue no one cares about the Suicide Squad. It doesn't sell well anymore, if it even did in the first place, and it's lost the interest that it once had for a very short amount of time. If Justice League Dark were to ever enter that form of stage, and as you say, become overrated, they would be a team that deserves to be seen as overrated, if that makes any sense. They would be a team that I think deserves to have as much interest as possible when you compare it to a team like Suicide Squad. In my opinion, Suicide Squad is a very one and done squad, whereas Justice League Dark, you treat them like the Justice League. They always have more to offer. They always have more stories ongoing, and and those characters are infinitely more interesting. Hear me out. Justice League Dark needs some cosmic villains. I'm talking straight up eldritch entities. Also, maybe they can work in a Space Alliance funded SCP-like foundation to imprison the villains they catch alive. It would be a neat way to humble powerful characters like Swamp Thing, Raven, and Zatanna, and rid the need to nerf these characters like writers often have for Earth-based antagonists. They could travel to other dimensions or explore the supernatural, spiritual cultures of other planets. I know that there's already a strong contender, Parallax, but it's a shame we never got to see Parallax in a horror context. It's funny SCPs were even mentioned here because recently I started getting into SCP lore, and it's just really fascinating and interesting. SCPs could also be very interesting in DC. The only thing is it would vastly alter the ecosystem of DC Comics in general, and there are probably a lot of regular characters that we deal a lot with in the DC universe, hero or villain, that would be considered an SCP of some sorts. But to go along with your comment, it could be very interesting to propel them outside of an earthly basis. That's not to say Justice League Dark can't deal with things from Earth, especially when you have someone like Swamp Thing. He needs to be on Earth. That is his home. That is his kingdom. Too often are we in a situation where DC's power scaling is all over the place. It's off the charts for one character, it's then even better for another character, it's then universal, multiversal for this character, and then it's vastly dumbed down for these other characters. Very often, I think the magical use and magical characters are very inconsistent on how their powers are used and portrayed. If you brought them into situations where they had to go to different dimensions or maybe other planets around the DC universe that had their fair share of supernatural entities, you could have them fight villains or fight beings where they wouldn't have to narratively dumb down their powers, because you could then make those entities powerful enough for your Justice League Dark characters to have to go all out and use highest potential of their powers and abilities. Magic can be a very popular thing in the DC universe, and I think what is important to understand is that the supernatural arcane world is not just Earth. It can be anywhere else in the universe, to the point where they should start creating more planets, more worlds, more creatures where the Justice League Dark can get involved instead of just focusing on Earth as per usual. TV. I feel like Deadman is way too powerful for even this team. I get that Zatanna is an elite level sorcerer and super powerful in her own right, but a practically immortal being who can take control of any mortal being feels kind of like a cop-out for the team. Maybe if they are fighting Trigon or Eclipso, then he makes sense as an ally, but having him be on the team to fight Felix Faust or the Floronic Man, it's just a recipe for dumbing down his abilities to serve the story. And unfortunately, I think we have found an issue with a lot of not just DC, but comic books in general. Does not matter the brand you follow. Eventually, these worlds make characters so ridiculously overpowered. When you have a particular story in mind and you have certain characters in mind, the power of that character literally makes your story and your plan obsolete. So to fit your narrative, you have to dumb down the abilities of these characters. And it really feels like there is no way around it other than narratively plotting it that way, unless we start to learn to make these characters not as ridiculously overpowered as they have become. But to bring this into that previous comment, they have to start fighting villains on a level that is somewhat higher than them, to a point where Deadman cannot do stuff like that, cannot just take control and take handle of the situation so easily. Zatanna is called the Sorceress Supreme in the DC universe. She's probably a top 3 magical user in the DC world, and even she will have her problems and her handicaps, so Deadman's gotta have some too. Now for my unpopular opinion on Justice League Dark, and I don't even even know if it is a true unpopular opinion, but I'm still gonna go with it. After the Justice League Dark should be the runner-ups. Into more detail, what I mean by that, if the Justice League needed help, if they needed substitutes, if they disappeared or died and we really quickly needed another Justice League team to come in to defend Earth in the way they do, I think Justice League Dark is the team to do it. Now, there are many different Justice League teams out there that probably have the more passionate, optimistic face to protect civilian life more than Dark does. They are probably a little scarier in a sense, and they have team members that if a regular citizen was to see them, they wouldn't even think they're trying to save them. They'd think opposite. On the level of power, I don't see many characters easily being able to defeat Justice League Dark. At the end of the day, if you were to pit all Justice League teams up against one another, I'm pretty sure whether you believe it, whether I believe it, narrative-wise, the main seven would come out on top beating everyone. However, when you do think about how stupidly powerful these magic users can actually be, I don't care if you're Lex Luthor or Brainiac, there's not many people who are gonna have contingency plans or the right strategy to go up against characters like Zatanna or Constantine or Deadman or Swamp Thing or whoever else you want to throw in this team. Magic is also very unpredictable. You don't know really what they can do with it and what new spells they've been able to craft within the past couple of days to do some of the most craziest things with it. They're also different enough from the Justice League that if they were in a position where they were fighting threats and they did need backup during the battle, you bring Justice League Dark in, and now that villain or those groups of villains you're currently fighting won't exactly know how to combat extreme strength from Superman and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and insane speed from The Flash and crazy intelligent strategy from Batman, along with all the crazy mystical arcane raw magical energy from the Justice League Dark. It would be pure overkill at that point. And that's why I believe they should be the true seconds, the true runner-ups to the Justice League. So there it is, some of your unpopular opinions on Justice League Dark. They're definitely a team that is talked about quite a lot, but I could almost guarantee you if this team got more popular in the months or years to come, you would start to see a lot more different unpopular opinions and hot takes on the team. So if that does happen, maybe we'll have to do another one for them. But if you guys didn't get the chance to comment in the community post, do so now. Some more hot takes and unpopular opinions. And also let me know who you'd like to see next. That is all I have for you on this one, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video. And until the next time, I will talk to you all very soon.